Who's going to be in the Harry Potter HBO series? Hi guys, it's Eve. Welcome back to my channel. So it is a very exciting time for Harry Potter fans. HBO are remaking Harry Potter. They are turning it into a series. We've had books, we've had films, and we're now going to have a full series of Harry Potter, and it's going to be a season per book. So according to this, it's going to be 7 seasons, and it's allegedly meant to span over 10 years from the first season releasing to the final season releasing. The creators have said that with the series, because they're going to have more time to play with than the films did, they want to stay extremely true to the book material and show more than what the films were able to, because the films are more sort of constricted and limited in time compared to what the series will be. And it is due to come out in either sort of 2026 or 2027. So I think by this we can probably pretty much say it'll probably come out between like October, November 2026 to like February 2027. That's probably why they haven't said exactly which year, because it'll either be towards the end of 2026 or start of 2027. So I did a video recently going through who we've had confirmed that's going to be in Harry Potter, along with some of the casting rumours. So this came in light of the news that we now have our Dumbledore. Our Dumbledore for the Harry Potter series has been casted. I did a whole video on it that I will link up here. So if you want to find out all of that goss, then make sure you check that out after this video, or watch that first and then come back to this. And yeah, I went through who's been rumoured. But I also wanted to go through, because obviously the rumours aren't confirmed. I wanted to have a bit of fun to go through the different characters in Harry Potter and sort of do our fan cast for the characters who we would like to see or who we could imagine playing the different roles. So I have done a series of this on my TikTok in short form content, but I wanted to do it on here in more long form content. So what it's going to be is I'm going to go through characters, Harry Potter characters, from the first book all the way to the last book, and sort of theorise who we could imagine playing these roles. So I've basically picked out about 3 or 4 actors or actresses for each character, and these will be taken from either ideas I've had of who I could imagine playing the role, or what I've seen other people say on who they would like playing the role. So whether that's through social media or like there's, fan cast websites, all this sort of thing. So I've taken a selection of like who the most popular like casting choices are amongst fans and collated them. So I'm going to go through them, and I just thought it'd be really fun and it can spark discussion. I'm going to give my thoughts on each of them and if I could imagine them playing the roles or not. And I'd love to get your guys' opinions as well in the comments. I would love for you all to just get chatting and to let me know and maybe chat to each other about if you can imagine any of these actors or actresses playing these characters, if not who. It looks like we'll probably start to get confirmed casting soon. So I thought, let's just have fun with it. Let's start talking about who we'd like to see in these roles. And who knows, maybe one of the people we mention will end up being in there. This will be like a bit of a series of videos, but I will go through like a few characters in each one. But if I did all of them, we would literally be here for probably about 2 hours. To start off with, I thought I would go through some of the sort of big characters, some of the ones we think they're casting for right now, because I thought let's get these theories in before we find out who's actually playing. So for today, I'm going through 3 characters. Those characters are going to be Severus Snape, Voldemort, and Minerva McGonagall. I'm going to go through all of these in this video and talk about some theories about who could play these roles. So firstly, I'm going to go through Severus Snape. And so I have 3 people here that I've collated, people that I can imagine playing the role, and I've seen other people suggest. Firstly, Tom Hiddleston. I could so imagine Tom Hiddleston playing Snape. He has the perfect look. I think he could give that, he's menacing, you're scared of him, but you can tell there's another side to him where he's maybe got that softer side. He could play that really well. I think he would make you genuinely intrigued, what's going on? What's up with Snape? But I do think he would make Snape scary, which could be good, because something that I talk about a lot on here and on TikTok and stuff is that I would love to see some slightly different portrayals of the characters. I want all of the characters, of course, to be portrayed how the book portrays them, but I think it would be really nice to see a slightly different side to some of the characters, to see them portrayed in a slightly different way, because it gives more purpose to the series. If we're seeing a different take on characters, it not just being copy and paste of the films, it just gives more purpose to the series. And it also helps to protect the original characters and the people who played the original characters, because, the films were brilliant. I love them. The actors and actresses that originally played them are always going to be the characters for me. I don't want to just see someone trying to do the same thing as the film actors did. I'd like to see a new approach. And I do think Tom Hiddleston could I think there's a potential he might be a bit too similar to the way Snape's portrayed in the film, but maybe Tom Hiddleston could bring more of I don't want to even say humour, because I don't think that's right for Snape. I don't think humour is right for Snape, but maybe it is, because Snape does have humour in the sense he's just got really dry humour. The way he takes the mick out of Harry and Ron, he sort of does have humour, but it's very like serious. But maybe Tom Hiddleston could make it less serious, and it's more of like almost more like you can see him enjoying it more, which I think is something in the books that you see Snape like smirking and stuff. I think maybe Tom Hiddleston could show more of that like sly side of Snape and the like smirking, enjoying, taking the mick out of Harry and Ron and all of that. So I do think he could bring something different there, and I could imagine him showing that like the side that then's revealed later of like the softer side, that actually he's been doing all of this to sort of help Harry. I could imagine him doing that quite well, and it wouldn't be exactly the same as how Snape was portrayed in the films. So I love the suggestion of Tom Hiddleston. I could even imagine him as like Lucius Malfoy, or another like Death Eater or something. Like I could imagine him in the series in some capacity, and I think I'd really like to see him in the series. Next has probably been one of the most popular fan casts like ever, and one that's been literally going around, I think like literally before we even knew there was going to be a Harry Potter series. Like, he was always sort of mentioned as like, this person could play Snape, and if there was ever like an American version, this person could play Snape, and that is Adam Driver. Like, he does have the classic Snape look. He could play Snape really well, and I think he could bring something different to Snape, because he could I think he could keep us guessing throughout, like that we think there's another side to Snape, like a nicer side to Snape. Because the one thing with Snape in the films, and this isn't a criticism at all, like I love Alan Rickman's portrayal of Snape, I'm just, you know, observing the way Snape is portrayed, you can't really tell from the start that Snape's going to end up being good. I think the revelation we get of Snape is quite a surprise in the films, whereas I think Adam Driver, because a lot of what I've seen him in, he seems to be very good at portraying emotions. I think he could sort of show Snape and make it quite clear from the start that he's battling with something, like that maybe this meanness is a bit of a front. I think he'd be able to sort of tell us that without like not telling us that from the start. So I do think he could give a different portrayal of Snape, where it's maybe a bit more of a more vulnerable Snape, like from the word go, which would be really interesting to see. My one worry with Adam Driver, I don't know if he'd be scary enough, I'm going to be completely honest. Like, Adam Driver as Kylo Ren, I was never scared of Kylo Ren. That might have just been, maybe that was what was needed for the character, but I just was never really scared of Kylo Ren. I think with Snape, it's not even being scared, but you need to be a bit wary of him. And I think because Alan Rickman played him so well with the like quiet scary, like in the silence, you're like, what's he gonna do? And I don't know, there's just something about Adam Driver that I'm just not quite sure. And also because the fact he played Kylo Ren in itself, one of the things is, as much as I'm going through obviously like well-known, already established actors and actresses throughout the series, I do like the idea of there being some lesser known actors and actresses. That might help stop us from going in with any sort of expectations or predetermined ideas of how they're going to play the characters. And especially the main thing is when it's an actor or actress who has played another quite big character in a similar franchise. So for example, Star Wars. I'm not saying it's similar to Harry Potter, but that Star Wars and Harry Potter are two of the biggest franchises with like cult following. There's always these things of, is Darth Vader or Voldemort the biggest villain? Like they're considered sort of in league with each other. So to have like one of the biggest villains from a recent Star Wars thing, Adam Driver as Kylo Ren, to then come in and play a key character in the Harry Potter series if he was to play Snape. And also those characters, they're quite similar. They're both characters that have a bit of an arc where they're bad and then are good. Snape, even if he's technically good throughout, like he was a Death Eater, he used to be a Death Eater, he is a character with background, with a story, with an arc. He's not just good, is he? As much as by the end we all love him, he's not a just good character. He's got a bad side. He started off not the nicest person. He doesn't treat Harry that well. As much as he turns out to be good, that's just fact. He is a bit of a bully, a bit mean. And that's the same with Kylo Ren. He turns out to be great. We turn out to love him. But at the start, he's not. That's why I just think like they're very, very similar characters. So I don't think it would work to have Adam Driver playing him when they're two of the biggest franchises, to have the same actor playing very similar roles in each. Like Ian McKellen, amazing actor, brilliant Gandalf. We know he could do Dumbledore because he did Gandalf, but it's probably best for him not to play Dumbledore because he is Gandalf. And if you have someone playing a very similar role, I think it could actually ruin the magic a bit. Potentially it's like, well, you know, it's just an actor playing a role then. Yeah, I feel like people that are in the Harry Potter series, this is probably going to be a big thing of what they're then known for. And if it's someone that's already known for a similar role in another big franchise, I just don't think it would work. And it could also make us go in with already like a set idea of how they're going to portray it. So we might go in like having an idea of we think Adam Driver's going to portray Snape like this, and then be disappointed or not if he does or doesn't. And you might just watch him and all you'll be able to see is Kylo Ren. But I think because he's played a similar role, I think it's best he doesn't play Snape. And I actually don't think they would cast him either because of that. Which, to be honest, actually, something I miss with Tom Hiddleston, that could be a bit of an issue with him, is that he played Loki or Loki, I never know how to say it. That's quite a similar character in the sense he's got that bad but good. He's got a bit of a double side there, and it is quite similar. And it's Marvel, which is another massive franchise, massive universe that's never ending. Tom Hiddleston has a whole spin-off show about his character in the Marvel universe. So there might be similar points there with Tom Hiddleston and Adam Driver where it's going to be a bit difficult because they already play such big characters. But then the third person is Freddie Carter. Now, this is one that I saw on a fancast website, and I don't actually know a Freddie Carter that well. I recognise him, but I've not actually seen him in anything. So to go through what he's been in, so he's been in a show called Free Reign, he's been in Shadow and Bone, which has been on my to-watch list for ages and I've not got around to it. He's been in The Doll Factory, The Convent. He's not been in loads, and he's not really well known. He's a lesser known actor. And so I think this is in his favour, just because I don't know him. That actually, when I've been going through and looking at people, I finding people suggested for roles that I don't know, it gets me excited because I'm like, oh, that's quite fun. If it's someone we don't know, it's like a blank canvas almost, and it's like someone starting and you don't have too many preconceived ideas because you haven't seen them in too much before. I know Shadow and Bone is very popular, so there will be a lot of people that have seen him and probably have ideas of what he'd be like. And I know Shadow and Bone isn't a million miles off from Harry Potter, but it's not like a massive franchise like Star Wars or in the Marvel universe. So I think obviously it's okay for someone to have been in another fantasy magical thing, that's fine. But it's just being attributed so closely to another massive, well-known character. So Freddie Carter, I think he could, obviously, I can't obviously make a massive comment on how I think he would be in terms of his acting because I haven't seen him in much, but I think I can imagine him playing like a scary sly, you're not quite sure what he's going to do. So I like this idea, and this is one that I more wanted to put to you guys. For if any of you have seen Freddie Carter in much before, what do you think? Do you think he would be good at playing Snape? I'd love to know. And I do want to watch Shadow and Bone, so I'll probably have to go and watch that soon, and then I can give a updated view on if I think he could play him. But this one excited me. And the other thing as well with Freddie Carter is he is more about the age that Snape would be in the books. Because something that the creators of the Harry Potter series have said is that in the films, the characters are portrayed older than how they are in the books. So as an example, Lily and James were in the books 21 when they died, whereas in the scenes of them dying in the film, they seem older than that. It's never said how old they are, but it is a thing. A lot of the older characters were aged up in the films. And the people who are creating the HBO series have said with the casting and the way they portray the characters that they want to stick true to the ages that those characters are in the book. And Freddie Carter would fit that. He would be around the age that Snape would be in sort of season 1. So it would be, again, help giving us new portrayals of the characters, sticking even truer to the book. Out of these three, I think Freddie Carter's the most likely. And actually, I do think, as much as I would love, especially to see Tom Hiddleston as Snape, I think I would like to see some slightly lesser known people. And then we do have the rumoured casting as well that I spoke about in my previous video, that someone who's allegedly in talks and a front runner for Snape, Papa Essiedu. Again, this is very similar to Freddie Carter, where I don't know much of his work. I've seen The Genie, which he's in, but yeah, I don't really know him that well as an actor, so I can't really say much about if I think he'd be that good at Snape, but I like this idea of lesser known actresses playing the characters. So Freddie Carter, Papa Essiedu, I am very open to either of them playing Snape, and I'd love to see their portrayals and sort of to go into it with fresh mind, no sort of predetermined ideas of how they might play the characters. So yeah, that excites me. That's Snape. So let me know what you think. Who out of these actors do you think would be most likely or best at playing Snape? And who else? Who else could you imagine playing Snape? Let me know in the comments. So next we are going to go through Voldemort. Again, I have 3 suggestions for Voldemort. Firstly, Benedict Cumberbatch. So this is one that I saw in various places, people suggesting, and I could see this. I think he would definitely play Voldemort differently. I think he would maybe play more of like I don't know if I've just got the sort of idea of Benedict as Sherlock in my head, but I could imagine him playing the like really like cunning side of Voldemort really well, and the like the calculated, clever, careful. I could really imagine him playing that, like really playing up that part of Voldemort, which could be really interesting to see, because Voldemort, as bad as he is clever. He's also lets pride get the best of him too much, but he is clever, he's calculated, he thinks everything through. And I think Benedict Cumberbatch could play that really well. I think he could give us quite like a quiet scary, where you're really unsure what's going on. Like, you think, wait, is he about to be nice or not? Like, I think he could almost be that, like, not nice, but like, you're really not sure what he's going to do next. Like, you just can't tell what he's going to do because he doesn't give much away. That unnerving, like, mysterious, I could imagine him doing that really well. This was one that, on initially seeing Benedict Cumberbatch, I was like, no, but actually yes. Because I'm trying to get out of my head, I think, it's obviously so easy because we have the films, they're iconic. And I love, you know, so many of the actors and actresses in the films that then it's really hard when you're then thinking of who could replay the characters to not just think, well, they have to play it in the same way. Like, for example, with Voldemort, who could play it similarly to Ralph Fiennes? Like, no, we don't necessarily need that. It doesn't necessarily need to be someone who could play it just like Ralph Fiennes, or who is like Ralph Fiennes. It'd be good to see a fresh take. So I actually do like the suggestion of Benedict Cumberbatch playing him, because I think he could bring a fresh take. And Benedict Cumberbatch is someone I could really imagine in the series in some capacity. If not as Voldemort, I can imagine him as like a Minister of Magic. I could so imagine him as Fudge. I think I'm probably giving away too much here. I've got Fudge in another one. I could really imagine him as Fudge, or like Barty Crouch Senior. Yeah, any sort of Minister for Magic. Benedict Cumberbatch does have the issue of he does play a big Marvel character. He plays Doctor Strange, who is basically a wizard. It's not too similar. I don't think it's too similar to any characters in Harry Potter. Like, Doctor Strange isn't like Snape as a character with like the traits that he's not. So it could be an issue. And again, I don't know. There might be things in contracts. I don't know. It could be an issue that because he plays a big Marvel character, he couldn't play Voldemort. Doctor Strange isn't like Voldemort at all. He's completely different. Even though they're both wizards, like, he's different. So that doesn't worry me in the way that, like, Kylo Ren and Snape worried me with Adam Driver. But yeah, I could very much imagine him as Voldemort. Next, so this is one. So I actually made this list. All of these lists I made before we got any rumoured castings. And I literally made this list, and I think made the TikTok on it. And then, like, literally a couple of days later, the rumoured casting came out of this person, Cillian Murphy, to play Voldemort. He's been on my list of who I would love to see play Voldemort and can see playing Voldemort before the rumours came out. I would love to see him play Voldemort. And Cillian Murphy, he's not played a superhero or a really famous magical character or anything. He's played big roles, but I think this would be very different. So actually, I say he's not been a superhero, but he has been in a superhero film. He was in Batman. He was the Scarecrow. So obviously that is similar. He was a villain in that, and this would be another villain. But again, the Scarecrow and Voldemort, not similar at all. Again, I don't think it's a major issue. It could be an issue technical-wise, I don't know. Personally, as a viewer, if he was to be cast as it, I wouldn't be like, well, that's weird because he's played a really similar character. Actually, when I think of Cillian Murphy, Scarecrow isn't, for some people, it might be the first role they think of. For me, when I think of Cillian Murphy, the first role I think of isn't Scarecrow. I personally don't think that would be a big issue, because I really think he could play Voldemort so well. Because whatever I've seen Cillian Murphy in where he's a villain, I am terrified of the character. And that's what you need for Voldemort. Voldemort, I personally think, is like the best villain, in the sense he's like the most scary villain. Because you feel like he could be real. He's not like one of those villains where it's like just so obviously like that would never happen. Obviously it would never happen, it's a wizarding world. But do you know what I mean? Like, it feels, I think that's for me, what I love so much about Harry Potter is the emotions you feel and how just into it you get. Like, for example, Umbridge. Like, I genuinely hate Umbridge because she could almost be real. She could be just like a really strict teacher. Voldemort, he could almost be real if you take away the magic. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not, you just get so invested and get so, like, I personally get like such strong feelings and like emotionally invested into it and believe it and everything. And I think that's so important. And Voldemort especially, I think, is so important. He's got to be scary. He's because there's, as I said earlier, there's always that debate of like, who is the scariest villain, Darth Vader or Voldemort? For me, it's always been Voldemort, because you're seeing him with Darth Vader, because he's behind like a mask, like a costume. that takes a bit of the realness away in that it doesn't feel as real. I don't know, but Voldemort, there's just something about him just so eerie, so genuinely terrifying. And I just think Cillian Murphy could play that so well and make you so terrified of the character and play it in even more menacing way. There is a thing with Voldemort, I think, as much as it'd be cool with different characters to see a new approach, Voldemort, he does just probably need to be played as he is in the book, but the scarier he can be, the better. And with HBO, I have always sort of seen HBO as they do take a slightly darker route with things. And I think I would love to see them take a darker route with Harry Potter, because I do think it will be mainly like an older audience, people that grew up with the films that are watching it. So I think they could make it a bit darker, a bit more scary. And I think Cillian Murphy could really make Voldemort, like, level up the scariness. And I would love to see Cillian Murphy play Voldemort. I think he's brilliant. I think he's actually becoming one of my favourite actors. But the other one, who's also been mentioned for Voldemort, and I've seen like people talk about, there's not many that double up between characters, but this is someone that doubles up, and I did just mention for Snape, and that is Tom Hiddleston. I've seen him mentioned a lot, so his name's been thrown around by people sort of as suggestions for Snape and Voldemort. I think he could do the approach of where it's scary, but you think, wait, is he almost being nice here, but then isn't? Like Voldemort does, like he hugs Draco, and he, where he talks to Peter Pettigrew, almost, he has that sense of like, almost like he's rewarding people, but he's actually not, and he's got really horrible motives. I feel like Tom Hiddleston could do that. I could see him more playing a character where he's got more of the like good and bad side, whereas Voldemort is just bad. And I think Tom Hiddleston, I could just imagine playing more one where there'd be the room to be almost a bit more jokey or a bit more like show another side. I don't quite know if I could picture Tom Hiddleston as Voldemort as much as I could Cillian Murphy or even Benedict Cumberbatch. So yeah, so for me, if I was to rank these, Cillian Murphy is my number one. I would love to see him play Voldemort, and he is actually the rumoured casting. He is the person who is allegedly in talks to play Voldemort. Then Benedict Cumberbatch, which is one that I was actually very pleasantly surprised. I wasn't expecting him to be in the list, and he was. And then Tom Hiddleston. Going back to do the same treatment to Snape, if I was to rank them, I'd say Freddie Carter, Tom Hiddleston, and then Adam Driver. If I was to put Papa Essiedu in the mix, I'd probably put him alongside Freddie Carter. Then next, and finally for this part, this first part of this series, we are going to go through Minerva McGonagall. I actually have 4 potential actresses for Minerva McGonagall, plus there's 2 who have been the rumoured castings. So I'm going to talk about all of them. First on my list, Olivia Colman. I could so imagine this. She would be able to play the strict but lovable, caring, almost like a motherly figure, but you wouldn't want to mess with her. I could really imagine Olivia Colman in it, and I have got Olivia Colman as a suggestion for another character as well, because I do think there are quite a few characters, to be honest, that she could play, and yeah, I would love to see her, even if it is just in a smaller role. Like there's main roles, there are obviously smaller roles that crop up throughout, like there's ghosts and all sorts that do pop up, so there's lots of areas where I can imagine Olivia Colman being in the series, but I really could imagine her as McGonagall. She was one I thought of and I saw on a lot of like fan cast websites and on social media and stuff. I think she'd be able to get that strict but lovable and funny. McGonagall does have that room to be funny as well, and also like still being able to portray when there's like high stakes going on. I think she would just be such a like motherly figure in Hogwarts. I would love to see Olivia Colman as McGonagall. Second, Gillian Anderson. I think she could actually show a strict side of McGonagall even more. Because of what I've seen Gillian Anderson in, she does place maybe, like, I guess the main role I can sort of think of her in is like as Havisham, as Miss Havisham. Obviously that's quite a cold character and actually a bit scary as well. And I do find Gillian Anderson, I think she's amazing, and I do feel like she's got characters where you wouldn't want to mess with them. And that is good for McGonagall. So I could imagine her putting that in. You don't want to be scared of McGonagall, but you want to know, like, you don't mess with McGonagall. I think Gillian Anderson would be able to show that really well. And then maybe with Gillian Anderson, I can imagine she would still portray, like, the idea of, like, McGonagall is caring, lovable, like, genuinely cares about students, is looking out for them. Maybe in a slightly more subtle way, where maybe those moments of showing that are rarer, but they mean so much more. Things they say and like the emotions they show have more impact because they're rarer. I think Olivia Colman would show the like lovable, caring, funny McGonagall even more. Gillian Anderson, I think, would be more of the you don't mess with McGonagall. She would still be the other elements of McGonagall the character needs to have, but just in a different way. It'll be showing the same traits, just in a slightly different way. Then the next one is Adjoa Ando. I could really imagine this as well. I think she's sort of in between Olivia Colman and Gillian Anderson, where she would, again, you'd know, like, you don't mess with her, but she genuinely cares about the students and everything. I think she'd be sort of maybe in the middle. As I said, like, Olivia Colman maybe would lean on the caring. Gillian Anderson maybe lean on the strict. And then I feel like Adjoa Ando would be somewhere in the middle. I'd love to see her in the series. I could really imagine it. I think she'd be able to get across the, like, she knows what she's on about. You don't mess with her. She, like, commands respect. She likes to have a bit of fun. She cares for the students, looks out for them, and is like that motherly figure as well. I think she would portray that really well. The fourth one is one that actually, because I wrote these lists a while ago, and actually in that time I've now sort of gone off this other suggestion, but I'm going to put her in because she was one that people suggested, and at the time when I first saw it I did think, oh, I can imagine that. And that was Eve Best. She plays Rhaenys in House of the Dragon. As that is another massive HBO series, they might not be majorly keen on casting her in Harry Potter, but this one surprised me because I didn't think of her. But when I then saw the suggestion, I was like, do you know what, I could imagine her as McGonagall. I really liked Eve Best in House of the Dragon. In fact, Rhaenys was one of my favourite characters, and she's very much like, you don't mess with her, but she looks out for those she loves. She is all about sort of what's right as well, like, even when there's stuff going on, like, she doesn't want people to be treated wrongly. She's all about, you know, doing what's right, and I could very much imagine her playing McGonagall. But I don't know, I think just now that time has passed since I've written this list, those other three that I just mentioned, I could just imagine so much more, and I think I'd prefer to see. Ranking these, I would say, do you know what, I actually am really struggling to rank Olivia Colman, Gillian Anderson, Adjoa Ando. I'd be happy if any of them were announced as being McGonagall. I'd be really happy. I think they'd all bring something different to McGonagall while still bringing what's needed for the character. For rumoured castings, because we've have had rumoured castings for McGonagall, and we've had two people that are allegedly in talks to play McGonagall are Sharon Horgan and Rachel Weisz. Well, I don't think I've seen any of Sharon Horgan's stuff. And Rachel Weisz, I have seen her in a couple of things, but not her, like, big things. I've seen her in Definitely Maybe, but I've not actually ever seen The Mummy. But I could imagine Rachel Weisz playing McGonagall. I don't know enough about Sharon Horgan to give an opinion. Again, actually, as she's someone who isn't as well known, like Olivia Colman, Gillian Anderson, Adjoa Ando, they are potentially bigger actresses that are more well known, and Rachel Weisz. I feel like Rachel Weisz maybe hasn't been in as much recently. I might be completely wrong. I guess I've not seen her in, like, recent things. So I feel like she's not been in anything, like, really, like, any big box office hits that have been sort of recent. So it would almost be like it's a bit of a fresh sort of take for her. And Sharon Horgan has also, like, I've not seen her in much. I don't think she has been in as much as these other actresses. So similarly to as I was talking about with Freddie Carter and Papa Essiedu, it would be someone who's lesser known, who's not got as many big characters attached to them. That actually might be really nice to see someone new playing McGonagall. I think that is very much in Sharon Horgan's favour. I'm not saying she's not known, just lesser known than Olivia Colman, Gillian Anderson, Adjoa Ando, that could be really nice to actually see. So that is McGonagall. Let me know who out of these, God, that was 6 actresses, who out of these 6 could you most imagine playing McGonagall? Or who else would you like to see playing McGonagall? Or with any of these actors and actresses, if you can imagine them as another role in Harry Potter, let me know. So those were our first 3 characters that we were going through and theorising who could play them. And yeah, as I said, this is more just a sort of open discussion, and so we can just have fun, talk about who we can imagine playing them. With these characters as well, like, I'd love to hear any suggestions you have for who you can imagine playing these roles. But if there are some lesser known actors or actresses that you've seen in some slightly smaller productions or in some films, or people that just haven't been in loads of stuff yet, I'd love to especially get those sort of mentions, because I do feel like that might be the direction that HBO go in. The person they've cast for Dumbledore is well known, and I could imagine them going for someone very well known for Voldemort. I think because Dumbledore and Voldemort especially are such key characters and literally drive the show, as do McGonagall, Snape and Hagrid, but I think there is room there where they could take a bit of a gamble on someone. They could go for someone who's not as already established. If you do have any sort of suggestions for any of the characters in the show, that'll be amazing. Because yeah, I'll be doing multiple parts in this series with more characters. So in the next one, we will go through Hagrid, Sirius Black and Umbridge, Dolores Umbridge. So make sure that you're subscribed and have notifications on so you don't miss that. And then yeah, for any characters, let me know, because as I'm then going through all of these, I can pop in some of your suggestions. If you have suggestions for any of the characters we'll be going through in the next video, then make sure you get those suggestions in. I can then do a little section for each character of your guys' suggestions. So yeah, let me know in the comments. And as I said, yeah, stay tuned. Make sure you're subscribed and have notifications on so you don't miss it. Put all of these in a playlist as well so you know exactly where to find this. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I really hope you enjoyed it. I personally am so excited for the HBO series. I'm just having fun, like, whilst not loads is confirmed in that, I'm just having fun, like, talking about it, theorising stuff. I'm going to be kicking back up my Plot Portal podcast. We talk about what we'd like them to include. There's going to be loads more content coming on the Harry Potter HBO series. If you did enjoy this video, I'd be so grateful if you'd smash a big thumbs up. It would mean the absolute world to me. Thanks so much, guys, and I'll catch you in the next one.